What's up, guys? I have not done a vlog now for probably like a month, which is not necessarily intentional at all, but just kind of how it's gone. I've been busy. But today I thought would be a good day to do kind of my next vlog because it is the first game of the Western, or not of the Western, of the finals, the NBA finals between the Cavs and the Warriors. But what I wanted to talk about was the Western Conference finals between Golden State and Oklahoma City. I actually just wanted to talk about that just for a second. Um, a lot of people, at least some of the guys I've been talking to, we're all Blazer fans, obviously, living uh, close to Portland and living in Oregon. And a lot of the guys that I've been talking to are really excited because Kevin Durant has an opportunity to leave Oklahoma City. And we kind of dream a little bit and think that that would be awesome. But in watching the Western Conference Finals, I kind of changed my mind a little bit on that. I um, have not liked Russell Westbrook, and just since I've been watching kind of him and Kevin Durant, I don't like it that he thinks he's the best player on the team, and he doesn't realize that for the majority of the time, I think he's the second best player on the team. But I gained a lot of respect for Russell Westbrook watching the Western Conference Finals purely because of what he put on film. And kind of what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is putting things on film. And I gained a lot of respect for Russell Westbrook because of his lack of complaining. He just kind of endured what happened. For those of you who did not watch the Western Conference Finals, it's a best of seven series, and Oklahoma City was up on the favorite Golden State 3-1, and they blew 3 games in a row and lost the series, which is a huge credit to Golden State because they're awesome. And I think a lot of people predicted a 3-game skid for Oklahoma City. But in watching those 3 games, particularly Game 7, when it was tied up at 3-3, the difference between what Russell Westbrook was putting on film and what Kevin Durant was putting on film was just kind of revealing to me. And since there's a lot of talk about potentially Blazer fans wanting Kevin Durant to come to Portland, I'm not sure that if he will. I don't even know if we're on his radar, but it is a possibility because of how much money we have and Kevin Durant's availability at the end of this season, which for Oklahoma City is now the end of their season. But it was interesting to me to see Russell Westbrook, who I'm not a huge fan of, just kind of complain or not complain. And I gained a lot of respect for him just with his leadership and some of the things that he did that, at least that I could see through the television screen, obviously not being at the game or on the court or even on the team in the locker room, things like that. He put a lot of good things on film when things weren't going well and when things weren't going his way. Even he really didn't complain and just kind of stayed the course and was a real leader for his team. Where I know Kevin Durant is a leader and he's a really good player, but some of the things that I saw, at least again through the television, that I saw him do um, were a little concerning to me. And I don't. NFL is my thing, and football is my thing, and basketball is certainly not. I'm not schooled or educated to nearly the extent that I am on football for basketball, and so I take what I say with a grain of salt, just knowing that. But I just kind of want to get this opinion out there in case it comes to fruition or whatever. I could be totally wrong, but I just have a gut feeling about Kevin Durant. He seems soft to me. And in watching Game 7 and kind of the last 3 games when they went on their skid and allowed Golden State to beat them 3 games in a row, um, Kevin Durant seemed to be mentally weak and, in my opinion, physically weak. When he came into the league, he uh, couldn't bench press 225, maybe at all, but I maybe he got a couple. But my memory serves, I don't think he could bench that at all. So I think he's physically and mentally weak. And the mentally weak being much more concerning than his physical abilities because he is very, very good on the court. But what was interesting to me is there was a shot where he was on the bench, Kevin Durant was on the bench, and he was complaining things weren't going his way. He was probably frustrated, and to his credit, rightly so, with his teammates. But he kind of had a little explosion on the bench, and one of the assistant coaches was leaning over and kind of um, calming him down, and you could see that this assistant coach was very aggressive in how he was trying to calm Kevin Durant down. And I seeing those things, and especially those things being on film and for everybody to see, those things are kind of, I hate this term, but a red flag to me. And I think that there's a reason that Kevin Durant hasn't necessarily won a big game or been able to capitalize on getting a title, even though he does have talent around him. I've heard good arguments, which is why I even hesitate to say this stuff. I've heard good arguments from some people that I've talked to that he needs one or two uh, more players around him in addition to Russell Westbrook to kind of help him get open and make shots and stuff like that. But and maybe he would have that in Portland. But for me, I just wanted to focus in on kind of his antics, and they're not even antics. Like it's not even a big deal. It's just this little subtle gut feeling that I get because of what he put on film of him on the sideline, and it seemed to me that he um, was mentally weak, and Russell Westbrook was way more mentally strong than what I anticipated. So the kind of the takeaway is that I gained a lot of respect for a player that I used to really not like, and probably still don't really like in Russell Westbrook. And someone that I kind of did respect or liked better, Kevin Durant, I lost some respect for, and actually would contend and say that I would prefer him not come to Portland because I just have this gut feeling that he is a mentally soft player that doesn't have like a killer instinct or doesn't have the ability to close because of his mental instability, and not like a big mental instability, but like more of like a golfer's mental instability where that can be really crippling in crucial moments when you just really need to kind of block out what's going on, whether that's frustrating teammates or bad calls by the ref or even just something that another player is doing. I just get this gut feeling about Kevin Durant that I didn't have before um, in regards to his mental ability in being able to close out games or kind of silence the critics and just play through that. And so those are things that I saw that he put on film, and it has made me less inclined to wanting him to come to Portland. All of that being said, you can take that with a grain of salt because I am not nearly educated enough in the NBA to really even have an opinion. But I just kind of want to put it out there because I have a gut feeling about Kevin Durant, and if he ever comes to Portland or if he transfers to the Eastern Conference, which would kind of back my point about him being tired of losing to the bullies in the Western Conference. I just kind of wanted to have this on film for myself of what I said. So if I'm wrong, you can just totally ridicule me. But if I'm right, here you go. So, but in regards to putting things on film, this kind of Kevin Durant doing this and just some of the things that are going on in my personal life um, have got me thinking about what my coach in college, Coach Cav, uh, I haven't talked about Coach Cav on a blog yet, but I've talked about him in a sermon or two that I've done. Coach Cav is super influential in my life. He was my offensive line coach at Oregon State. He's now at Nebraska, and I'm a big Nebraska fan. Just watching some of the things that he's doing there, and I have a lot of my coaches since Mike Riley's there now. But Coach Cav would always say, "What are you going to put on film today?" And that kind of phrase, I've written it down and I put it up in my office. And that phrase of "What are you going to put on film today?" was directly applicable to when I was playing football because all of our practices would be recorded, and then we would go back in the film room and watch ourselves on practice. And so it was always the focus of what are you going to put on film today, and what are people going to see, both your teammates who watch the film with you, but also you yourself as you're evaluating your performance and stuff like that from practice. And I've taken that into the real world as I'm done playing football now and just doing something that doesn't get recorded on film every day. I say that as I'm doing this vlog, which is kind of funny. But the idea of what are you going to put on film today, I think reigns true in all aspects of life, whether you're being recorded or not. There are people all around you that are seeing what you're doing. And so um, I have been focused on this and thinking about this really ever since he has kind of said those things. And I really appreciate Coach Cav. There's a lot of wisdom that came out of his mouth, and I didn't retain all of it, but this is definitely one of the things that I did retain. And I so appreciate, Mike, you saying that and giving me that little nugget to kind of chew on as I've grown up and moved into my adult life. But putting stuff on film is definitely something that I've thought of, and particularly whether that's building my resume at work or doing things for work, whether that's just the body of work that I've created, whether that's like preaching a sermon or how I'm developing certain teams at the Grove or doing things like that, whether it's actual like resume building stuff or just things that I've said or things that I'm doing, impressions that I'm making with the relationships that I have around me, even outside of work into my marriage and into my personal family relationships and things like that, where in my day to day grind, what I want to do every day as I wake up and as I start my day is what am I going to put on film today? And so I just kind of wanted to do this vlog because that is something that I think about. And watching Kevin Durant do those things in Game 7, it just reminded me, like, man, what am I putting on film, and what are people thinking about me in my best moments, but probably more importantly in my worst moments or in my stressful moments or things like that. And so I just uh, kind of wanted to pose that idea um, to you guys, to the people who watch this, and just to think about what kinds of things are you putting on film today. And when you wake up and as you start your day, what are those things that you're putting on film? And so for me, that's something that I think about and try to have things in my life where I can evaluate that. And I would say probably one of my best evaluations is my wife, and is the things that Megan will say to me or challenge me on, or will just kind of, if you're lucky enough to have a spouse who's able to talk to you like I am, you find out really quickly what you're putting on film and how you're impacting people. And so I'm thankful enough to have that in my job. I'm thankful enough to have that at home with my wife. And so putting things on film and making sure that I'm putting the right things on film. And when I don't put the best things on film, improving upon that when that's pointed out to me. Um, is something that I'm focused on. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you guys and challenge you in that way. If that metaphor kind of helps spark something for you, just thinking about each day, what are you putting on film? And is it what you want to be on film? Is it what you want to be remembered for? And are there things you can put on film that are just like going to inspire other people? And not, again, not literally, but can you be encouraging someone at work? Can you be doing things for your spouse or doing things for your kids, or going out of your way to say something nice to somebody or do a favor for somebody? All of those things, kind of how I've translated that from Coach Cav saying that in the film room to again real life where there isn't necessarily cameras. I've translated that to all of those things are what I am putting on film on a daily basis. And so I just wanted to encourage you guys in that way. And then I also want to highlight somebody who puts things on film phenomenally all the time, and someone who's in my life daily. Um, and that's my boss. I wrote this on here just because that's what I want to end with. I just want to take some time at the end of this to highlight my boss, James Carmichael. I was supposed to preach this weekend. If you're watching this in time, but before this Sunday, I was supposed to preach, and with some of the things I have going on and planning and my workload, I asked if I could be relieved of that and if he could do that. And he is running a marathon this weekend, and he kind of has a personal goal to just get better at the physical fitness part of his life. And so he decided to, and this should, if you know James Carmichael, this is not shocking, but he decided to go out and run a marathon. And so he's going to do that this weekend. And he was asking if I could preach because he doesn't think he's going to be able to walk up on the stage, which is totally understandable. And so I just wanted to highlight someone in my life who puts good things on film constantly, and someone who I'm inspired by and who inspires me to put good things on film. And that is definitely James Carmichael, and his both leadership ability, the things that he shares with me, knowledge wise, and his actions and the things that he does is a constant reminder to me of putting good things on film. And just doing things the right way. And so, if you're lucky enough to have an incredible boss and someone who challenges you, who gives you things above what you think you can do, but also helps you in the times where you feel like you can't live up, and someone who gives you the freedom to kind of make those decisions for yourself, and who's going to walk with you through those things, I would just take the time out today to say thank you to them. And this is kind of my way of doing that to you, James. You're going to hate me for this, and I know that you don't give a rip. You probably don't even watch this, which is even more hilarious. But my boss's boss, I know a boss is a term that you really enjoy. So um, I just want to say thank you, James, for you being my boss and for the things that you put on film and how you inspire me to put better things on film. Whether that's how you parent, how you're a spouse, um, how you work, and how you treat your employees and treat your volunteers, probably more specifically, and treat the things around you. You are a big inspiration to me. And I appreciate you as my boss. And so you are definitely boss in my book. And I just want to take this time to thank you for relieving me of preaching this weekend, but really just all of the other things that you do and how you're teaching me to do my job better and put better things on film. So I also thank you, Coach Cav. I don't want this to turn into like a Grammys award speech, but I am very thankful for Coach Cav and for the things that he's taught me as well. And I guess this is also just a thank you to the mentors in my life that I've seemed to constantly have good ones for. So if you have those people in your life, I would thank them today. And I would also encourage you just to think about what you're putting on film. So I know I see my time down here. It's like 16 minutes. If you withstood this to the end, congratulations. And thank you for caring enough about what I say. Um, but I just this is almost more for me too, just getting these things down and getting these thoughts down. So thank you for watching. If you have thoughts or comments on what you're putting on film, or if this was encouraging to you, you can let me know because that obviously inspires me. But thanks for watching, and stay tuned for another vlog, I guess.